Ah, yes, the early 2000s, a time of technological feats seemingly happening every year, a time of youth, self-discovery, and for me, well, I was just getting out of middle school going on to high school, so I got a lot to worry about, plenty to worry about. So what are we doing all the way back here time-wise anyway? Well, the game we'll be talking about takes place around that point in time, and is simply called Keep Driving, which makes looking up things for it in Google a bit of a headache. So you start off by creating your own character. The customization options are a little limiting, but at least as far as your background goes, you can unlock more options the more you play it. Name, your relationship with your parents, your occupation, and what you're bringing with you off the bat. That all plays into your little adventure. You also get to choose your vehicle. Will it be a sedan with 4 seats and a little trunk space? The sports car with 3 seats and practically no trunk space? Or the truck with all the trunk space but only 2 seats? Now keep in mind, the kind of car you pick will help steer your adventure in a particular direction. Huh? See, I can be sometimes funny. Alright, so that's all fine and dandy, but what exactly is this game about? Well, it puts us as a young adult in the same time frame as I mentioned earlier, and it tasks us with driving out to a music festival that we were invited to. Well, I mean, that's just one outcome that could happen here. That's right, folks, the ending is largely dictated by your actions within the game. There's more than one. Maybe you get to the festival and connect with your friends. Maybe you divert to a race you're invited to in your travels. Or maybe you just straight up go to jail. Oh yeah, anything is possible when you're on a summer adventure. Seriously though, while not limitless, you get a surprising amount of endings you can get in this game. Not to mention the half a dozen things that can happen to you on your travels. Your travels, mind you, that happen in a big old map. Okay, I know, so you must be asking yourself, so the game is about road tripping. How is that exciting? Well, there's a lot of elements to contend with as you travel. The different road types dictate the kind of hazards that you'll encounter on the road. The types of hazards that you deal with are pretty much, well, turn-based RPG battles. Yeah, no, I'm not kidding. You'll encounter all sorts of hazards out there on the road, and each time you have to engage in battle. Each hazard can be contested with the abilities your driver has. More abilities can be earned by accumulating skill points, and you get those by overcoming hazards. Keep in mind that these abilities also have a price, and that price is your resources. Some use up gas, energy, and even car durability, so be mindful on what and how you use them. But you can also buy consumable items that act just like abilities, but they're only good for X amount of uses before disappearing completely. However, they don't use up any resources in order to be used, so, it's a boon to an extent. Some abilities and items tackle specific hazards or apply to all of them. Your goal is to reduce the number of hazards to 0. And you're going to want to do that sooner rather than later, because if you don't, then you'll run the risk of getting hit with damage on the corresponding hazard type. Okay, for example, if your encounter presents you with 3 durability symbols, blue tires, and 2 energy symbols, little green guys, then you need to eliminate them before it comes time for them to do you damage. Otherwise, the little green guys will take away some energy, and the blue tires will take away durability. You can tell which one's gonna hurt you next after your turn by the symbols above them. They'll either take the form of a triangle, or an exclamation mark, or a no symbol. Either way, if there's a symbol above them, odds are they're gonna hurt you. You'll also want to keep an eye on your status. Just like any RPG, there are positive and negative statuses your character can get during any encounter. Things like being sleepy or being inspired can make an encounter easier or that much more difficult. Some hazards let you proceed without much else, while others, like abandoned cars or random-ass attaché cases in the middle of the road, may contain useful items. Just make sure to keep an eye on those resources though, cause running down to 0 on anything can grind your road trip to a halt. However, that doesn't mean game over though. The game gives you an opportunity to just kinda sit there and reflect on your life decisions. You'll have the chance to save yourself in this instance, like digging into your truck and seeing if there's any item that can help you out of this jam, like some snacks to replenish energy, or a jerry can for some emergency fueling, or a toolbox to replenish just enough durability to get to that next stop. If it's a gas situation, you'll have the opportunity to walk out and get a jerry can of gas at the next town over, though it'll cost you $30 and 5 energy. You could also call a tow truck, and won't cost any energy, but that'll cost you a cool 50 bucks. However, alternatively, you can call your parents for help. Depending on your relationship with your family, that is, it can dictate the percentage as to whether or not they're gonna bail you out of this little situation. The higher the relationship with your parents is, the higher chance they'll actually agree to get you out of that jam. Mom and Dad will get your car towed to the last town you're in, fill up your gas tank, and make sure you're fed, and even give you $200 to get you back on the road. Aw, thanks, guys. In each of your stops, the size of it will largely determine what you have access to. Some stops are only gas stations, others are a garage, auto parts store, maybe a pub in it. Eventually, when you get to bigger stops like cities and such, there are way more options, from antique stores to proper hotels. Hotels, inns, hostels, those sort of things are very helpful because you won't get dirty and it won't negatively impact your car, because apparently resting in your car affects your dirty meter and the car's durability. I don't get it. You also get the chance to customize your vehicle in both cosmetics and what's under the hood. Cosmetics range from the totally out there to the suspiciously familiar. As far as what you can do under the hood, it all comes down to features that will affect your road trip battles, to your gas mileage, getting more inventory space, and more. Oh man, there's a beauty to this game that I always marvel at whenever I fire it up. It can get downright gorgeous as you watch your character drive down the highway. More often than not, I find myself just looking at everything in awe. And the soundtrack is made up of nothing but Swedish indie bands with music genres all over the place, from soft and peaceful to rocking out hard. There's a song or songs for everyone in there. You can also obtain more music by buying them from shops. Some of them randomly have CDs that, once bought, unlock more tracks for you to choose from in your car's CD player. And an interesting thing to note, the CD player in your car can only handle 6 tracks at one given time, with no repeat button as far as I can tell. So you gotta go in and manually restart the playlist each time. Well, I guess it also gives you a chance to rearrange the tracks if you want to. Well, I mean, you do have an option to increase your playlist size, but you gotta buy a vehicle upgrade in order to do that, which takes up an interior slot, because each of your upgrades take up slots, they have slots, which can be a ding-dang challenge because there are plenty of other useful things that you can put in that slot, like a roll cage that increases your car's durability, and, choices! Oh, speaking of choices, I haven't even covered the hitchhiker aspect of the game. Yup, that's right, because in this fictional setting, there's practically no danger in picking up random strangers who are looking to hitch a ride. Well, okay, 99% of the hitchhikers won't prove to be a danger. There's like one hitchhiker I got at one point that was just straight up a runaway criminal in a jumpsuit. Pretty sure he broke out of jail. Yeah, no, I don't want that kind of trouble. Forget about it.
Forget about it. Forget about it. Forget about it. Oh, forget about it.
Wait, no, stop. That's exactly what I'm trying to avoid. Each hitchhiker provides unique abilities that can be super helpful and, at times, have certain caveats to go along with them too. The narrative itself is a little bit tricky to go into. It's kind of a roguelike in a way, whereas getting an ending is just one of many, but there is also lots of ways that the games can end. You can actually arrive at the festival that your character was planning on going the entire start of the game, or your character can end up participating in a big old car race, or you could just drive until time is up, because inevitably, unlike Phineas and Ferb, summer does indeed end for the rest of us. Eventually, upon getting yourself your first ending, the next time you fire up the game, you'll discover that the main menu was actually not just a big red screen. It pulls out to reveal a book filled with stamps. Oh, it even has a message from your mom. Every stamp is a kind of ending you can earn for the game. It also has a few details on major events that happened to you throughout your adventure, as well as the hitchhikers with you at the time. With the amount of randomly placed events littered all across the map, there's no telling what you're going to encounter out there. Now, while I can't go into detail about every single narrative thing that I encountered in the game, I will go into detail about one thing that really hit me in the gut. One of the very few times I was actually kind of frustrated with the game. You see, one of the many scripted events that will happen when you're on the road is getting a letter saying that your grandma is sick with cancer and her time on this earth is unknown. You are given the opportunity to go see her. Now, this can certainly put a damper on things, especially if you're on track and trying to get to some other direction, especially if it's like the opposite direction. Rerouting to the spot where you can actually meet your grandma can make or break your entire journey. So, in a perfect world, you go out to the designated city and you see your grandma one more time as she's being assisted by a physician, where she gives you the deed to a house that was originally planned to be given to your parents, but she opts to give it to you instead. However, if you're unable, or if you choose not to make the detour to that designated city, sometime down the road you will get another letter in the mail letting you know how exactly she passed away, at what time, and that you still get the inheritance, except now you get it with a heaping helping of guilt. Oh god, okay, look, I know I'm about as soft serve, but this hits close to home specifically for me. And let me just talk seriously for a second. I lost my grandmother a few years back, and it was during circumstances where I wasn't there when she passed away. I missed out on saying goodbye. So to be in a setting, albeit a fictional one, where I can actively say goodbye, but choosing not to? Okay, yeah, it kind of destroyed me a little bit when I played it. I think really my only complaint beyond that is the fact that that's kind of like a designated scripted event. No matter how many times you play it, it happens, so there's no avoiding it. So it's kind of like a perpetual hell for me specifically. But again, that's practically my only complaint about this game. Seriously, and it's a pretty niche reason too. So I personally wouldn't worry about it. Now I shall stop going into the details of the narrative because you should get it and play it yourself. A great chill game with just enough to worry about to keep you on your toes. It's kind of like that Star Trekker game I did a short about a while ago. But I don't know, a lot more nostalgia with this one. Anyways, as always, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what you see, go on ahead and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit that old bell button too. And as always, remember, stay safe and keep on gaming.